panel will talk about emerging trends in personalized learning, gamification, AR, VR, STEM, robotics, coding, and more. The panelists for this session are Mr. RAJEEV, TYAGI, who is the Associate Principal at Mount Carmel School, Mr. REEKRIT, SERAI, whom I just called on stage. He's the Director and Dean of Satluj Group of Schools in Panchkula. He'll be joined by SANCHITA GHOSH, the Head of History Department at Sanskriti School, and finally SONIA, WADHWA, the HOD of ICT at the Sanskaar Valley School, Bhopal. The moderator for this session is Mr. AMOL, who is the MD at Shemrock and Shemford Group of Schools.
My name is AMOL. I'm Managing Director of Shemrock 3 schools and Shemford 10+2 schools. We're here to talk about emerging trends in technology and education. It's a subject which always interests everybody, and but I somehow look at technology and education as a perennial bridesmaid. It's almost always the next big thing to happen, and somehow nothing changes in education from my side. We have an interesting panel here. We have educators, we have people who have really been into technology, and we have school managements as well. Because one of the challenges that educators face is about integrating technology is, what is the right technology? Every expo we go to, we see so many stalls, interesting things, and the question also, who's going to pay for this? So a lot of questions come in our mind. Will it work? The previous thing hadn't worked. We tried that didn't work. Our teachers don't have time for all that. So there are a lot of challenges in incorporating technology, and of course the biggest one is we have to finish our syllabus as well. So quickly, I'd like to start from one end, and REEKRIT, I'd like to start with you.
Sure. Yep.
When you look at the new tech, and I'm sure being a youngster, you get encouraged by something we find that kids will have fun, and as a school management, I'm sure you look at the ROI as well in terms of somebody has to pay for this. How do you evaluate technology when it comes to your school? And so.
Excellent, thank you for the question. Well, I'm happy to be over here. Actually, I gave the keynote speech in Pune, so this is my second time for the EdTech conference, which is being held right now. So my views on tech are very, very different actually, because I was born into an era where we had a Game Boy. So these were those kind of video games that you play on your hand. There's a handheld thing. And then I'm sure that a lot of educators were also born in that era. So I'm looking at 35 or so age bracket over here. Well, when it comes to tech, what I've seen is that to a major extent, it is seen as a gimmick in many schools. I think that's a chat that we had about. We had this small chat while we were due to come on stage just a few minutes ago. I think the major point over here is that we have to learn how to actually implement tech. Now my tryst with tech is around 7 to 8 years old. 7 to 8 years old. I was in a village in Bengal, and there's a school over there which has been run by a friend of mine. And I saw around 7-8 years ago that students were using tabs in a very, very small village. There were around 100 or so kids in that school, and they had these tabs and apps and everything. I was a bit shocked. I was like, what is this? And what is my friend doing over there? And then I learned that that math and science was being taught on apps and tabs in that school, and this is 7 to 8 years ago. The very next day, I went on a trip to Shanti Niketan, as one of our friends just said a few minutes ago as well. And then I saw that that's one of the world's best recognized institutions, and it was the complete opposite. Kids weren't even allowed to use a PC over there. Kids weren't even allowed to read the news. They were made to stay in school and be one with nature, which is also right. I think I don't think there's anything wrong over there. But when I came back to Chandigarh, then I thought about this. I was like, what just happened to me? On one end, you've got a school which is just an hour drive away from one of the world's most well-recognized education institution, and then you've got this extreme end of the spectrum where you're not even allowed to use systems in your classes. And then I thought about this, and I had a word with the government as well. And that's how I learned my tech in education actually. So the first thing that I did when I got back home was that I had a word with my staff, and I said that, okay, what is this going on in tech? Have you heard of tabs? Have you heard of apps? Have you heard of this fact that maths can be taught on your smartphone or even on tabs as well, and science and science can also be taught? And then a lot of them said no. So we don't even have smartphones, and this is around 7-8 years ago when a lot of them did not have smartphones then. So that was when we launched our first tab lab, and that was when we launched one of our school's first apps as well. So then that app got recognized because it was one of the first schools to have its own educational app. So that was the first thing that I learned in tech, of course, in education, and then a lot of new things happened: AR, VR, MR, IoT, 3D printing. I think that we'll talk about this as well. But I feel that if tech can solve a problem, if tech can be used in the right way, I think it's the most effective thing. I had a word last week with a very well recognized educationist, a very senior educationist. So what he said was that tech is just a way to teach better, but then we have to focus on the crux, which is education in the end. So if we can keep education in mind, and if we can use tech as an add-on to make sure that we educate our kids better, I think that's the way, that's the right way to look at tech. And education should just be focused on two stakeholders, because they are just two. They aren't any more stakeholders than the two that I'll just say right now. And one is the learner and one is the teacher. So if we focus on them, if we use tech to make their lives easier, I think that's the right way to look at it.
When you talk about gimmicks are mostly targeted with a marketing focus for getting more admissions in our schools as well, right? So there is a third stakeholder for our tech choices, which is the parents as well, and how they would react to tech. So I'll go on to Dr. RAJEEV. Apart from just the choice of tech, you also operate in an environment where there's a pressure on who pays for this, and the fees control is strictly being controlled, your balance sheets are being monitored. When you get excited about, again, same question about technology, and does that question come to you, who pays and how do I implement it, and how do you look at challenges of these kinds of, because you all, as educators, we all want to bring in innovation, we all understand our children come from a world which is tech filled, they're going to go to a life which is going to be very progressive, unlike the schools that they attend these days. How do you balance out all these, the future requirements, today's pressures of parents, the curriculum, and as a school head, how do you manage all that?
Good afternoon, everyone. The question which should have been put to AMOL sir, he has put it to me. He is the one who is running more than 600 schools, and so he is the one who is most suitable to handle this question.
No, that's not how we are structured. I'm a teacher here. I'm not supposed to ask the questions here.
Yeah, he is the master Ji and I am the student.
Yes,
that's a wonderful combination. As a person who has worked in the same school for nearly 21 years now, I can trace back the history of use of tech in the school. I joined the school when computers used to be only in the computer lab. And say we started by the way most of we all struggle, that we started with putting some kind of projection system in the classroom. So many of you might have used projectors. We decided LCD at that time, then we moved on to LEDs, then bigger LEDs. That doesn't add any value to learning. That's more of a glamour factor. It doesn't add anything to learning happening in the class.
Can I have a short, can I just interrupt you? How many feel the smart class is just a gimmick? Does anybody, how many, can you raise your hands? And it's more about the marketing, we had a presentation on marketing. How many feel it's more about the learning? Okay, so we have about a 60% learners, and I'm sure there are people with mixed thoughts about the same.
Okay, so the response was quite similar to the response we gave to Heymans, that they were against and for and equal numbers. Now after this screen size and LCD, LEDs, now you put something to use. So we at that time I'm talking about 2D animations was the craze. DesignMate was in the market. It had wonderful thousands of animations. Recently they resold to us their product in 3D. Then teachers started making.
They resold the product.
Yeah, something. The animations which were in 2D at that time.
So it was an upsell.
Upgrade,
like
okay.
Apple does, right?
Okay, thank you for giving the right term.
I thought you
So,
sold something else, दोबारा पैसे दो.
See, if I come back to the original question, if you see what value is being added, has the child developed some ability to solve problems for the future? Will he be able to create something in future? If you see that value, then parents take it as an investment. If it is a joy factor, interest factor, but ultimately the child ends up learning nothing. Say for example, if you have to teach the child addition, what value has been added by employing all those tabs, all those screens, all those PPTs? What
So can you measure value as well? I mean, when these companies come to us and say, children will learn, nobody has any empirical evidence of learning. So when you say that there is no value,
so that becomes the crucial factor. If you can't measure the value being added, then why should a parent be penalized? Or why should the parent be willing to pay for that, which has more of a glamour factor? See, what is the mandate that we people have got? And you will find all those pictures which we put on social media or we share, or say annual day, child dancing, yeah, very good, very nice. But unless the child is taking it as a profession, that's an add-on. Primarily, I want the child to be, my definition of education. Primarily, I want that. Now, in that definition, what value has been added by spending so much on tech, tabs, or whatever? So, at that time, from 2D, we moved on to 3D. Then, for language, we have a language lab, math, you have a math lab, and everything has an issue. If you give the entire contract, outsource it to one group, for example, EduComp, then you have that same problem that today EduComp is fighting for its survival. Where do you go? All that infrastructure that you set up, where does that go? Now, so we opted for the other way around, that math lab to someone else, language lab to someone else, teachers preparing their own PPTs and everything. Now you have a problem how to put it together. And then
isn't that like buying parts of the car from the market and say, okay, let me
assembling it?
That's a big challenge, right?
Very big challenge. And then when something is outdated or you want to change it to something else, how do you export? The quizzes that I made in Google Forms, will it be used as such in Edmodo? Or if you move on to Microsoft from Google environment, will they be utilized as such? Or will I have to redo all those quizzes, copy, paste, insert the pictures, insert the video? That's a huge task for teachers, and that's why you will find whenever technology is introduced in the school, teachers are the least to buy in, because they see, now that we have started talking about some new resource, what does it mean to me? What does it imply to me? How much hard work I'll have to do and reset all those things. And one say if I'm using 2 or 3 platforms, does one correlate to another? Can I, for example, the quizzes that I have done in Google Forms and the scores that I have for children, can I show that score in Edmodo or in Microsoft Teams or any other tools that I'm using?
Sure.
That's a challenge. So in whatever approach.
So someone as tech savvy a school as yours and making a statement that most tech is gimmicky, and you're pretty advanced in how you're using tech in your school. So that's a
compliment also, and that's actually a challenge also.
Okay. Ma'am, so I'd like to, I think one of the biggest challenges that is raised is about teachers as well, and how teachers tend to be the biggest resistance. Do you believe in that? Is that the biggest problem? The products are good, maybe the systems are okay, but maybe are the teachers a problem, or do you want to face challenges somewhere else?
Thanks for your question. I'm SONIA. I have come all the way from Bhopal because the conference topic, and especially the topic for this panel, is very close to my heart. And I come from a background where I've got experience of working with the management to bring the EdTech in school, and also I have 18+ years of experience working as a teacher with different boards. So I think I can relate to the feeling of a teacher and from the perspective of a management also. As I would like to address that question of smart board, why I feel that nowadays it's not required, because if you see the kind of content our children are consuming through YouTube or through mobile phone, they have access to very high quality content. You go to PVRs and you see those Dolby digital effects, and if somebody will put you in a simple room with a TV, you won't enjoy the same movie. The whole perspective change. Now these companies, those who are offering content for the smart boards, they are still in an age where they are showing 2D animation. Or if we as a school, if once we procure those smart boards and the software, how often we pay AMC and upgrade? For 5 years or for 10 years, we are still to the same boards and the same hardware, the same software. Even if we make a move after 2 years, after 3 years, but see the pace with which the technology is changing and the consumer is consuming. So they are used to watching that high quality content which is already available out on the internet. So they are not interested in our smart board 2D
So I believe that wow factor has now
yes.
no longer.
There was a time 4 years back,
so
yes.
The gimmick part is also ended,
yes.
right? There's no
so
gimmick
that's wiping off now.
So there's no learning, there's no gimmick.
No, I'm not saying there's no learning. It depends the kind of fabric you have, the kind of students those who are coming to your school. If you have students, those who don't have that much access to technology at home, maybe those animations still attract them. But if the fabric is different, you are running a
but
school
with
in a
the
metro
geo
city,
thing, I think that's been taken. Now everyone is on YouTube.
Yes.
Now I think we have 2 years back when you talk about 6 years, have you seen a tab? Now nobody's going to ask this question. I think so. I think that phase is now
over. So smart board is not something very catchy.
So what do you recommend that we have educators here who are wondering what next? What are you recommending?
I'm going back to your previous questions, like what's the hindrance in bringing the technology to school? I think there's gap in the planning, the way school plans to bring tech to school. Definitely the leadership identifies that tech will help in enhancing mathematics skills, English skills, but when it has to be actually implemented by the teachers, those realities have to be looked into. For example, school leader go and attend a workshop from, for example, here I take a product from Hey Maths or take a product from X company, Y company. Like sir was also mentioning this problem that when you have to bring all that together to the platter to a teacher from different platform, then it's difficult for a teacher to accommodate all those things. Now, if you make a wise choice, if the school selects 4 to 5 things which are best for the school, for example, our school has gone for Microsoft Office 365 accounts, which are basically free for schools to take. And that particular account offers you various opportunity for students and teachers to collaborate and create content. Same way, any school, if you see value.
I think that's a very important point. A lot of schools should incorporate that Microsoft 365 is free for schools and it gives you tremendous collaboration tools, as does the Google Classroom as well. You should check out both the tools; they're both fantastic. So
yes.
Yeah.
So I'm not here to promote Microsoft. You can even try for Google. Any one platform which you see school should identify. For example, now there are plethora of tools available for formative assessment. But as a school community, we decided that we will stick for 1 year or for 2 years to Kahoot. So it has become a school culture that formative assessment in our schools are done through Kahoot. We did rigorous training. Now all the teachers are comfortable.
One pause. Kahoot is an excellent assessment tool, free of cost for teachers. If you're not using it, you should start using it. And I had half a mind to use it in today's moderation, but if I was speaking, I might have used it. It's excellent. KAHOOT. Please check it out. It's free of cost. Excellent. Kids would enjoy assessments. I love doing it with my son personally.
So whatever technology I'm naming here, it's free of cost. So school doesn't have to invest anything.
KAHOOT. Yeah.
OOT. KAHOOT. So you conduct the class using Kahoot and see the excitement level.
There's an app, so you have to sign up with this. It's very easy.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am, but nothing is there free of cost in today's market. If you're saying they are providing free of cost, they're making us bullshit and they are telling us put our 3,000 students on their website or on their app and they're coming.
Sir, have you used Kahoot? Have you used Kahoot?
People have used the Facebook.
Have you used Kahoot? Yes or no? So you use a very unprofessional word right now. So have you used Kahoot? No, right?
So
you don't require student data.
Don't say it's free of cost.
It is free of cost, sir. Sir, it is free of cost. If you not use Kahoot, please let's end this conversation.
It's just with the
Ma'am, please carry on.
Okay. So
I don't think that kind of language should be used when you roll out facts.
So what the point which I was trying to make is definitely the change in the mindset is required, which I'm sure most of the educators are now making a move. They have also realized how much dependent we are on, technology. You move from your home, you check everything, how's traffic look like, you book your tickets. For every little thing, we ourselves are dependent on so much on the technology. Then the students too we are teaching, don't we want them to be future ready? And if we want them to be future ready, they should be able to, use this technology comfortably. And who are the role models for these teachers? We students, we teachers are the role models. So if we won't be comfortable with EdTech, if we won't innovate and create with technology, how do we expect our kids to do that?
Imagine, so how do you expose the teachers to technology? How do you give them exposure?
We 3 years before, we were using a different strategy. Like we used to do teachers training once or twice a year. We thought it will not work. Now we have an in-house training cell and an in-house IT development cell. So the cost has also come down and we are seeing better results. So this technology...
How has the cost come down because you've added this?
Because, see, we have not added the new staff. We had a pool of teachers, those who were very tech savvy, on the basis of their interest.
So
we identified some pool of teachers. We trained them, and now this trainer, the teacher trainer, they are training department-wise to other teachers. So definitely, I as an IT manager train a bunch of teachers, and then the ripple effect, they train their staff members. So we have created a repository of teachers and resources. Those who,
I'd like to reiterate, that's a very, very good strategy. I mean, because when instead of a lot of companies, schools, what they do is they hire some IT professional from outside, and they don't speak the language of the teachers. So teachers feel they don't understand my problems. But when you get a teacher to actually who's been from among them, and she starts showing results, case studies, and small steps, I think that really helps percolate how
Just
IT
one example, I did training of OneNote, and as an IT head, but I never thought that this OneNote has this learning pack tool where if you have this learning edit, it allows you to dictate, whatever dictation you give it in 20 regional languages. And voice to text feature is also there. So I saw that my English teacher, when I trained her and when she was taking her training session, she told the department to conduct now the elimination for the different competitions using OneNote. The link of the notebook will be sent to the students. Even the students, those who have stage fear, they will record their speech and will put it into this OneNote, and teachers sitting at home can listen to all the speeches. Right? So first the confidence and the content can be figured out, the first level of elimination can happen, and then the second set the students can be trained. So the value which a subject teacher can see for his subject, I cannot see as an IT person. So my job is to give general training, and then the examples which they create for their department, it's amazing. Like we did a training on gamification of learning. So there was this teacher, she created a Kodu game where student would, the game character would go to the environment and there are different rocks. When the game character would step up on the rock, the characteristics of the rock will come. Now the child has to identify which kind of rock it is. Igneous, metamorphic. It was a Kodu game. It's also like a free repository, Kodu Game Lab. So we did training.
Free,
So the teacher created the game. So under the gamified learning concept, we did training of this one game.
How do you spell that? I'm sorry. How do you
KUDO, Kodu Game Lab. So, sorry, KODU, Kodu Game Lab. So you research. There are many games and the videos. The way schools can use it, it's already available on the YouTube. So just one example. The point that we are trying to hit is, it's a myth that it needs a lot of investment. First thing is mindset, a clear vision that school leaders need to have. Then proper planning. And talking to the people, those who have already implemented it successfully, rather than going with the big banners. Now, coming to the second thing, why we have this in-house IT development cell now? Because we realized paying, lakh of rupees as AMC or to the third-party vendor, and then when their content is half as per our need, it's better we take an open source software customized with the help of our team. Then it's more customized as per our needs.
What's the open source software again?
Like you take Joomla, or you have any, like my team has taken some products from PHP, like some PHP softwares also.
That's
yeah. So you have any IT staff which is there with your school, you can train them and you can get the software customized as per your need. There's no need to always invest lakh of rupees and buy a new product. So that's also a culture which is coming in. I can name in 8 to 10 schools those who have stopped buying software, rather they have their in-house IT development cell with a strength of 3 to 4 people, those who do market research and bring the best of the tech to school as per the need of the school. because every ready-made product may not suit us.
Thank you. I think great structure that you've given us in terms of how tech should be incorporated and how schools can manage it themselves as well. But you talked about most of our decisions about tech tend to be very top-down. As how do you? Is there a scope for bottom-up as well? Are teachers now coming up with? Are you seeing traction there as well? And how do you implement technology in your department? And
in fact, I love the flow of how this is progressing, and thanks to you, you're a really great moderator. We did start with managements beginning to feel that things could be gimmicky. Now, I'll just talk about my experience. I have been a classroom teacher for 22 years, and when I joined Sanskriti school, where I have been now for 18 years, there were some of these third-party service providers who were coming in and trying to push their product to us. And hats off to our first principal. She called in all the heads of departments and she said, "You are the ones who will make the decision." So we sat through some presentations, took our notes, we asked for some exemplars, and we took them back to our departments. And then we asked them, "Do you see yourself using this in the classroom?" So what? 2D animations, some gimmicky maps. And every department, there was no one on board who says, "Yeah, this is very exciting." Said, "We can do a better job than this." And teachers are the greatest resource of any institution. However, that being said, often with the teacher training modules that we see, again, as Sonia ma'am rightly pointed out, again, a lot of third-party trainers, they themselves do not have a lot of classroom experience. Often they do not understand the challenges. In a 40-minute period, I've got to address the needs of 35 children who are at different stages of ability or learning stages. So that one model doesn't fit all. So we talk about personalized education. Often the third-party trainers are unable to address that even with teachers. So the school, let's say, pays 1 lakh rupees to bring in these group of trainers to train the teachers. So all 200 sitting in one auditorium. There are maths teachers, there's a language teacher, there are Hindi teachers. Often our tech tools ignore languages other than English or those languages which use the Roman script. So these were challenges that we faced in a school as well. And just like Sonia ma'am's school, we've also taken baby steps towards an IT cell. I wouldn't call it IT cell because actually the three of us, none of us are IT people. So there's an economics teacher, there's a maths teacher, and there's me who's a history teacher. So very far removed from...
tech education is always, ed is front of tech always, so that's okay.
So that's the part.
We don't have tech.
But it's very interesting because a lot of conferences I go to, which are EdTech conferences, I'm possibly the only one from a social science background. There are usually no language teachers. School leaders also tend to send out their IT departments. And the trickle-down effect, well, in economics, it's been proved that it doesn't always work. So as school leaders, there are so many school leaders here. Next time, there's an invitation to your school to send in people for an EdTech conference. Please try to think of the non-tech subjects as well and send them across because it really does make an impact. That being said, how do we select a tool? Let's say a school does not have the wherewithal, it's a very new school, for example, and the teachers who've come in perhaps themselves have not been exposed to technology in a very big way. So maybe we can't depend on them to start with such a EdTech support system within the school, and you need to bring in outside help. What are the things that might help you decide that I want to go with A vendor and not B vendor? Now, many of you must have heard of the SAMR model, the SAMR model: substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. So is that tool only helping me substitute? So what does a traditional class teacher do in the classroom? He or she will walk into a classroom. We might use chalk and board to explain whatever concept that we have to do. So a geography teacher might draw a map, freehand map on the board, point out certain important areas which produce iron ore, for example. Or a maths teacher who will show the various steps of how to solve a particular problem. Now, if there is a software which is coming in, which kind of runs a video and animation, so 2 kind of coming in from the left-hand side of the screen, 4 coming in from the right-hand side of the screen, and the plus sign kind of dropping down from the top.
what is it doing? It's only substituting the teacher. So tomorrow,
Sometimes it does a better job than the teacher.
Does it really? It might, because if I drop maths after
Certain
class.
cases, certain teachers, certain topics, yes.
Certain topics, but largely is it doing that? So does it justify the cost? Right? So are we looking only at substitution? So can this animation have been made by the teacher herself with the right training? Yes. Is it being augmented?
The teacher would make a better pedagogy in it, maybe not as flashy as a professional.
So if I could give you an example from a day-to-day classroom activity. So I've taught a topic, and traditionally what we would do is give them a worksheet, give the students a worksheet, which they either solved in class or they took back home as homework, and given a certain period of time in which they completed the work and brought it back. They wrote in pencil or pen or whatever. So pen and paper activity. Now, is this new technology coming in? Let's say we become a Microsoft school or a Google school, and we said, okay, now we can digitize all our worksheets. So what am I doing? Am I taking a picture of that worksheet, or probably typing out that worksheet into a Google Doc or a note, which is a collaborative tool? I push it out to the students, and the student, either on their tabs or their Chromebooks or whatever device the school is using, they're doing the same activity by typing out the stuff rather than writing it. So that's only substitution. If I'm looking at augmenting that, then I might go SIR's way and make a Google form out of it. In a form of a quiz, a self-assessed quiz, so the student fills in the answers, does the calculations, fills in the answers, and the moment they click on the submit button, the child gets immediate feedback that I got 2 out of 5 questions right, or all 5 questions right. So that is perhaps augmentation. Then I would also put Kahoot quizzes and all these quizzing kind of platforms.
Still, when I go to my son's class, my teacher keeps telling him, "Usko cursive writing karaiye, usko aur tez karno," but no teacher tells me that please spend time on Kahoot with him, right? So this is not exactly substitution. We are doing on a different tangent, and maybe this is what is required for 21st century skills in the long run. But
yeah, I'm coming to that, sir. I'm coming to that.
What about 12 marks?
I'm coming to that, sir. So when I'm talking about the digitization of worksheet or giving a quiz, it's an individual child's work. Now when I come into modification, I might actually get a bunch of kids to work together on a particular problem. So am I building some additional skills here? They're working in a team, they're collaborating, they may have disagreements.
We call that cheating in schools right now, collaboration.
Exactly.
Right.
So are we moving to look at this collaborative work as beyond cheating? They may be getting answers of each other, but are they learning to work across their differences? I'm talking about 21st century skills, where we are looking at collaboration, critical thinking, creativity.
This may work in Sanskriti school, but what about parents where, marks, and the previous panel also talked about that. I mean, our whole focus is on you look at the advertisements on May 15th to 30th, it's always the photographs of the toppers, right? We don't talk about anything else.
Exactly. So, which is,
I was coming to it at the If that's what you're going to judge the teacher at the end of the day and tell her, your kids have scored well, shabash ma'am, you've done very well, your kids have done. On the other hand, you tell her, no, please use Kahoot in your classroom. She's like, why? Right? So it's going to be it'll remain Dr. Rajeev's word, the gimmicky at the end of the day, because she's not, the previous speaker talked about the why. The why is the marks. If I'm going to be judged on marks,
so which is what requires, yes, I'm so glad sir you asked that question, because it's a constant tussle between the school when, let's say a school calls itself an experiential school. Now at the end of the day, the marks are very important to the parent, because he or she is worried that my bachche ko DU mein milega admission, where cutoffs are 100%, 102% also. I think in SRCC last year we saw that. So yes, so it is a constant struggle. There are no shortcuts to it. There are no magic wand, abracadabra, and all your problems are sorted out. But am I also, so if I bring in the last of the sample, that is redefining a task, and I put forward a problem. For example, project-based learning was a buzzword, maybe even till last year. So if I give the student a project that, on history for example, that how can we integrate technology into learning history? What if I ask my students, would you like to make a documentary on some of the lesser known monuments in your vicinity? Now I ran this project in my class. As we all know that history now requires a practical in the board exams. when it first came out, I was reading, what, a practical in history? So when am I going to get a history lab, and can I bring Akbar from somewhere and say, okay, now you tell us about your Solar Kul? Doesn't work. So then the teachers are thinking, what else can I do? So for the last 2 years, I've been working with my students where they are creating documentaries. And it's bringing in cross-curricular connections. So when I'm working on a documentary, I'm scripting my work. So somewhere my language skills are coming into play. I'm already talking about critical thinking. I'm talking about creating. Now, if I'm talking about EdTech, and let's say EdTech wasn't available to us, if YouTube wasn't available to us, if my smartphone wasn't available to me, how easy would it be for a class 11 or 12 standard student to make a film, first to go shoot a film and then edit that, add sound effects. And today I can do that, my students are doing that on just their simple mobile phones. They don't need expensive cameras. So when the school management is choosing a tool, we really need to look at these 4 levels. Will this tool allow my teachers and my students to look at creation? Can they create their own content? New content, not just reinvention of the wheel, but looking at the wheel in a very different way. We talk about personalization of education. A lot of apps are out there in the market, a lot of vendors are out there in the market who are talking about differentiating learning for each individual child. As school administrators, are we looking at differentiating professional development for our teachers? So instead of having all 200 here, can we focus? Can the teacher choose what PD he or she wants to engage with? Are our vendors able to provide for the differentiation? So out of the 200 people here, there will be probably 7 or 8 of you who will be really tech savvy, who really know what new tech is out there. AR, VR, can I create a virtual reality video? Maybe 2 of you will be able to do that. Largely, we are very comfortable using our phones, but the moment it comes to using a new device, we think, "Arey, toot jayega, main kuch galat daba dungi." That's a struggle we have with a lot of teachers. So are we able to differentiate between these teachers? Somebody who's at a very beginner's level, very scared that something will go wrong and I will fail in front of my students. Am I making it safe for that teacher to learn? And if there is a teacher who's at a very advanced level of comfort and integration of technology, am I giving enough credit and sending the teacher for a more advanced course? I know SONIA Ma'am School is doing that, where they've identified a few teachers and they are now becoming master trainers. So there's really a whole, I don't think 40 minutes is actually enough to complete this discussion, but let us not leave the teacher and the parent out of this equation. Because at the end of the day, yes, the marks are important. Sadly, our system is that the child, when he sits or she sits for a 3-hour exam at the end of school, and that sort of determines that poor child's career path. We really need to look at, I wish there was some, I wonder if there are some policy makers here, many of you school leaders who can influence policy. So please use that position that you have to push for positive policies towards students. So that might really help us come out of this rat race for that 102%.
So I think AI is going to solve a lot of problems, I believe. I have a lot of hope in that, because once we change standardized assessments, if you change the question, the behavior will automatically change. Right now we're asking everybody the same question, answer sheet, same marks, which ultimately drive the first step of your career. If we can have a more holistic assessment of an individual and do that matchmaking with colleges, okay, right now you enter, the college also doesn't know if this is the right student for me, right? Just based on that exam, they're also nervous what kind of intake they're getting. So I think AI is a big hope right now. But once that changes, I think we'll have that question that was asked in the previous panel as well. Why are schools even required? Then that question will become even louder.
Yeah, where does the teacher stand? I mean, if we're going to get a lot of software and service providers, so do I have to, I need to reinvent myself as a teacher. I can't continue with the old ways of teaching, though some of them are very powerful means as well. But somewhere the teacher needs to, and for this the teacher needs a lot of hand-holding. The teacher can't do it on her own. We do not have the resources, we do not have the knowledge. Often we are so bogged down with our day-to-day notebook corrections that I don't have time to even do a simple Google search that, okay, what are the new trends in teaching ABC topic. So there we really need, and this I'm speaking as a classroom teacher, and when I conduct training sessions, I can see that the teacher struggling. And for me, when a trainer tells me that I'm going to give you some shortcuts to take back to class tomorrow, I love that presenter. That's really where we're talking about differentiation in learning as well.
I just want to go back to one basic. Why are we doing so many conferences on EdTech? Why are we talking of technology in education? Because we want to teach the way this generation wants to learn. That's the whole point. Let's feed them the way they want to be fed. So they're so much exposed to the technology. If we as educators will not make this move and change mindset and be progressive, innovative and accept technology with open hearts, the whole battle will be like we won't be able to do anything. So we must realize that we are doing it for our students, for their betterment. It's just that we need to ensure that the best practices are brought into the school system.
And I'll take a question. We are about to finish time, so I'll take a question. I'll just let me finish. What I got from this was there are a lot of tools. There are a lot of tools and resources and a lot of experience that this crowd has as well. Not only we don't mean to be full of ourselves that we are sitting here and we are some kind of gurus in this topic. What I can suggest is if we could all collaborate and share what resources, technologies you are using in your schools and you would recommend and share, and we could all put it on a common platform, a document, which everybody could take back.
Actually, I was just trying to understand a few questions with Dr. Rajeev ji and another panelist also. Sir and ma'am, already are you aware there are different MOOCs available.
Can you use a mic please so that
there are different MOOCs available, and then students are seriously using it and they are having the certification courses also. So students of 11th and 12th grades, when they are using their different courses, whether it's science or machine learning or cloud computing or artificial, whatever it is. So are our education industry is going to accept in terms of certification or not? 1, 2. If we see our MHRD notification, like there are different tools where which they are, MHRD, UGC, in terms of higher education and schooling also, after 8th standard students can enroll themselves. So as far as knowledge is concerned, they can have it. But whether as an educationist, whether as a principal, whether as a system, are we going to accept this, or are we as an industry or as an employer? Are we going to hire them? So what's the process?
So I think, I think can I take it at a broader level? How important are degrees going to be in future as well? I mean, that's in certifications and TAPAs as well.
I'd like to come back to something which was commented earlier. When marks and how much marks and what percentage, that was the criteria that was considered achievement. As I don't need third-party authentication.
I think, sir, even I think a lot of principals here would agree. We tend to hire people, teachers, and even if they're not
based on degrees,
we don't hire. We say we are नहीं किया ना कोई बात नहीं, join करो साथ कराते रहेंगे.
That's excellent. That's an excellent. And if AMOL sir is doing it in more than 600 schools, I'm saying good, अच्छे दिन are ahead.
No, it is because that's how we all operate, right? Because we are short of good teachers, and we find somebody who, as Priyanka ma'am said, can speak good English, is passionate. There's no value added in that. It's a thappa, right? And so I think, sir, this thing will start coming up, and maybe in your resume you show your YouTube playlist and say this is what
I want to add on to what sir was saying. For 2 purposes, we are using these certificates in our school, and we are promoting it very much in grade 11 and 12. First, if you know this concept of LinkedIn Youth, nowadays students of 11th and 12th are advised to make their portfolios and profiles on LinkedIn Youth, where potential companies are keeping an eye, and if they observe the child has potential in a particular field, they provide them mentors and they guide them which course they should pursue for their grad program or for their higher education. So if a child has interest in machine learning, and if they are doing 2-3 courses on Swayam or on different portals like you mentioned, even IBM has different portal, Microsoft has, so they get badges and certificates in soft copy which they put to their LinkedIn profile, and then they are identified by
employers
these
would really
employers.
Appreciate that.
So that is first one value why we are using these certificates and badges, and second, we have this system of student-driven clubs in schools where we train a group of people from grade 12. Suppose I have identified 4 students of grade 12. I did training for them for robotics during the summer break, where some money was paid by the parent and some money by the school. Now they are trainers for teaching robotics to middle school. So they are running. So when they finish a particular course with particular group, they ask them to take these exams and then get certificate. So we celebrate them in assembly. So these are two ways how we are looking at the certificate.
Such students would be very well appreciated by employers as well, because when I get freshers as well and I interview them, my question is beyond the college, what else have you done? I look for these opportunities, and employers are actually looking for more than just if a 75% student is better than a 65. No, it's not. He's not. So I will look at all-round development. So now I think employers also know the value. So degrees and the value of diplomas and thappas is coming down, and that's why even schooling is might turn irrelevant as well if we don't start innovating as well. So with that, our time's up. I think we got to start.
I think just one more question.
There's a red sign in front of me saying time's up.
Just 1 minute. Of course, everything is relevant. What you are saying, that few employers, they are coming up with these ideas, but all of them are not like this. Still, for admission in Delhi University or somewhere, we need that kind of degrees, because those degrees have some value. We cannot deny that. If we cannot say that my child is not going to DU and I will educate him from a simple college because he has more knowledge.
Read about Minerva project. Not just read about it. It's very, very interesting. So I think, I'm sure the organizers are actually now he's threatening to take back the mic from you.
No. I was actually saying, would you rather take the questions together?
I will, and that's what I will. Again, in terms of portfolio, there's one more tool I can offer, which is free of cost. Free a tool which is value for money. It's called Seesaw. It's for primary kids. Please check it out again. So those of you who have sent the what Seesaw, ma'am, iska spelling bhi main nahi bataunga. So I have some more SEESAW. It's the regular Seesaw. Please click your pictures and send it to my name, and please don't share my numbers with the vendors who बहुत phone करते हैं. Keep it yourself. It is just the first number I could think of, and I'll definitely share the document back with you and those of you who've shared. So fantastic, a really good panel discussion. I think we had a very broad, and we came from, I started there from a top down, from a school owner, top down owners, school head, to department heads, and we got a very good range of how education. It's a very, very big challenge. I have been using EdTech for 18 years now. One of the first customers of one of the companies you mentioned. I don't want to mention companies. They're not the sponsor, so I don't want to promote it. But again, it's a challenge, and as an educator, it's part of your responsibility to have that open mind, always question things and all. So fantastic, great panel discussion, and there are a lot of questions. I'm sorry we couldn't take them right now. Please take them offline with us. Thank you, EdTech Review, for having all of us.
It's all right, Amol.
Please take the permission. If he says yes.
Do I have your permission?
No, I'm sorry.
Then I want your permission to take it offline.
No, offline, offline.
You meet me first, right?
Yeah, you first. Great, thanks.
Thank you so much to our panelists.